Another disappointing movie. Was I planning on seeing this movie? Kind of. I mean, the trailer was okay. Um, it was an interesting concept, and apparently, yeah, it's like a lot like a couple other films like 1408 and Secret Window. It's about like this novelist who's, I guess, trying to write next big hit, but then some weird stuff starts happening, and something tied to like his personal past, which is kind of like 1408. Except, I mean, I haven't watched any of those films, but I guarantee they're at least better than this. Is it like the worst film I've ever seen? No, I've seen worse. I know that the title is completely awful, or like the thumbnail, I don't know, but like, it's really bad. That's what I'm trying to say. It's mostly wasted potential. That's why I'd say you could pretty much just call it wasted potential in the movie, or too little, too late, which I know Chris Tuckman said in his review, but it pretty much is. Like, it starts to get interesting well over an hour into the movie, and even then, it's mildly interesting at best. But yeah, this movie's 90 minutes in, so it doesn't really have that much time to do anything interesting. So let's just start with the stuff that I like. I like the idea. It's an interesting concept. While yes, it's rather derivative of a couple other movies, it still could be interesting. And there was an interesting setup for some scares, and it's a good setting, like a weird layout of a house that doesn't technically make any sense, and something terrible that happened in his past is coming back to haunt him. Yeah, again, it's kind of derivative, but really anything can be done well, even if it's really derivative. The acting is fine, I guess, and it's watchable. That's really it. When most of your pros are just it's watchable and some basic stuff like that, that's kind of bad. But let's get on with the bad stuff. Let's start off with the scares. This movie isn't really scary. They could do some really creepy stuff with the house, and they do start to do that later on, but it's just not really that well done, and it's very short. It's for like 5 to 10 minutes at most. And there's like 2 other scenes before that, which are rather short, and nothing really scares me. Nothing is really scary in this film. It's just a bunch of generic lame jump scares that rarely happen, but they're really predictable. I'm like, alright, a jump scare's about to happen. Okay, wait. Alright, never mind, it did happen. And they weren't really scary. It was just like someone walking in front of the camera, or just some generic stuff like that. It's like, that was really predictable, and I could see that coming from like a mile away. So yeah, generally, it really isn't that, in terms of scares, it's really bad. It's not scary at all. Alright, next up, let's do the characters. Yeah, they're not that great. I mean, they're not the worst things ever, but they're kind of bad. They don't really have much to do other than just get mad, and that whole dispute side plot, I'm gonna talk about that, like, very soon, like, right after this. So, the characters don't really have any traits. They don't really do anything. This little girl just mainly has some creepy scenes, and is usually just most of the creepy stuff that happens, and I say creepy, like, in quotes, because it's not really creepy. She's just stuck somewhere else in the house, and all we hear is her saying, "Daddy, where are you?" It's stuff like that. It's like, really? That's all she do? Or, when she's not doing that, she's saying, like, random nosy stuff like, "What happened to Dad? Why does everyone hate Dad? Why don't you text her?" Like, Amanda Seyfried, or, I don't know, what's her character's name? I actually don't even know. I don't even remember any of these characters' names. Well, Theo. I know Theo is the main character's name. But who else? Susanna. Why don't you text her second phone, because apparently she has that. But yeah, that's really all she says. Some really nosy stuff, or it's just walking around a bunch of halls like, "Daddy, where are you?" So she doesn't really do that much. The acting isn't that bad for her, but the acting's fine. The main character, Theo, doesn't really have that much. He has, like, an interesting past that really isn't brought upon that much. It's like, okay, that's interesting. Like, it turns out, mild spoilers, that he actually watched his previous wife die while she drowned, because he just had so much bottled up anger and really hated her. Which is interesting, but it was just kind of came out of nowhere. It was like, I watched her die. Yeah, so, goodbye. I'm gonna leave you, Susanna. I belong here. So yeah, it kind of just felt like, oh, wait, I forgot about that in the script. Oh, shoot. You know what, it's whatever. 70 minutes in, fine. I'll just write it in like this. Because it just feels like, oh, we forgot this part, now we're going to put it here. Because it kind of just feels out of nowhere, or it just doesn't feel like it was properly set up or had that much. It wasn't really set up that well before. So, yeah, the stuff like that with the weird backstory, that could have been done pretty well and could have been interesting and could have led to some creepy scenes. But it didn't. That whole side plot with the first wife dying was barely in this. It was just like really in one scene and that's it. You could have explored it more and whether or not he was actually innocent, and you know, it turns out that he wasn't innocent. Which I actually predicted. I predicted a couple things. Like, I predicted like the time when the movie in general is pretty predictable with the scares, because I predicted when they were gonna happen, and the ending. Like, okay, yeah, I know it. He's not gonna be innocent. Obviously, that's why the house isn't letting him leave. But yeah, what else? And the character Susanna, I'm gonna talk about the side plot. There's like the side plot whether or not Susanna is like cheating on this guy named Alex, and I guess it starts when Kevin Bacon's character Theo walks in to the set when she's like having a sex scene with this character. I don't know if I even. So either way, so it's like a love scene that they're filming, and I guess it starts from there because he seems kind of like suspicious whether or not she's cheating on him, and I guess it's meant to like tear the family apart, which I guess is kind of like sinister almost. I don't know, but it's kind of just in there, not really put in that well. And it doesn't really lead to anything, it's kind of pointless. How about instead of that, you do some more creepy scenes with the house? Or, like, build the characters more instead. Because the characters are just, like, there. They don't really have any traits. They don't have much of an arc. We just learn how kind of terrible the main character Theo is. And how what he did was regrettable. But we don't really learn. He doesn't really learn anything except, I need to take responsibility for my actions. And that's really it. That's all he does. And yeah, really all the characters are kind of just uninteresting. The scares aren't that good. Cinematography is nice. What else? I don't really know. This film could have been good. It really just was wasted potential. It could have had some really cool scares. There was this guy called Angus that was in it for a little bit. Played by like Jeff Bell, who was barely in it, and I guess it was like the dude that built this house and the multiple houses in the same area before. That wasn't really explained that much. And yet there's some unexplained stuff, like, how does really time work in this house? I guess time doesn't work. It's like the Blair Witch almost practically. This movie's like Secret Window, 1408, Sinister. It's a lot like it's like a lot of movies, which is kind of like lame. So yeah, this movie is really good. Do I recommend you watch it? No, although you won't hate yourself watching it, but it's not that great of a film. I'd also give like a D or D minus, or maybe even D plus. I don't know. I'm just gonna give it a D plus. I hope you enjoyed my review. Make sure to like and subscribe, and I'll see you in the next video whenever the hell that comes out.